Hello and welcome to the Jigby Keltsing podcast show. My name is Jigby Keltsing. Each week, you'll hear fascinating conversations as well as stories from many professionals from a broad range of fields and experiences they've had. On today's episode, I have the great pleasure to chat with Tristen Gressett. Tristen, currently a 17-year-old singer-songwriter from Alabama, finished in the top 11 of American Idol's 20th season, picked up the passion of music at a young age, and has also seen some challenging times. He's with me now to talk more about it. Welcome, Tristen.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. I mean, I know that you've had a busy schedule because you're playing gigs and you're out playing shows, and it's been a crazy life-changing experience for you.
It has been just an amazing experience, man. It has been life-changing. Everything that's been happening. I'm just so happy to be able to say I was a part of American Idol and to now be able to say that I'm starting to build my own career.
Right, man. And like, I want to begin by saying and asking you this question right off the bat because I felt like this is really necessary to ask you. Um, why did you sign up for the show?
Well, I'll tell you, man, it was actually my mama's idea. So she wanted me to sign up for the show because I had won a talent competition. It was a singing competition in Dadeville, Alabama. It was like Central Alabama's largest talent competition, and I was like, all right, man, let me try it. Let me see what happens. And I actually ended up winning it. I was like, oh my goodness. And I just couldn't believe it. I've never been really like a competition kind of guy because I've never, really viewed myself as that kind of, you know, level of, to where I could compete with other people, especially on something like the scale of American Idol. But my mom was like, you should really sign up for it. Everybody's been telling you to try it. So, I signed up for it, and, the rest is history.
No, absolutely. And your mama and you got to meet Alabama native Lionel Richie. Um, what was that experience like getting to see firsthand, in person, Lionel Richie?
It was absolutely amazing because they're such larger than life, people with the way they speak and talk and act. And you know him and Luke Bryan were very, you know much these characters, like off camera, off stage. They were still these, amazing people. And I swear Katy Perry is one of the most down to earth people ever. It's so crazy because I remember her talking to me and my mama, and we were just sitting there just because it was after one of the rounds we got to go to like this crazy LA kind of party type deal, and it was just like whoa, whoa, whoa. And the judges were there, and Katy Perry was talking to me and my mom, and she was like, it, and there were no cameras, no nothing like that. It was just like everybody just there, and it was just so surreal, man, so surreal.
Yeah, and obviously nobody signs up to a big competition like Idol without a dream. And for you, that was being a rock and roll type of artist. Would that be an accurate description of what you're aspiring to become?
Well, I think it's an accurate description of what I do what I did on the show, and what I think I kind of do live. But it's kind of crazy because every time I write a song, or every time I, come up with a melody or something on the guitar, it's always so folky. Like everything that I write is really folk, which is really strange. As you can see on my wall back here behind me, I got a big old Bob Dylan poster. He's one of my biggest influences. But when I'm putting on a live show, when I'm in front of people, I don't want to bore them. So I really do a lot of crazy rock and roll and stuff like that. But man, every time I write a song, I always like to be very intimate. I always like to be very true and real. I like to tell relatable and real stories. And I find it really, really hard to write a rock and roll song because it's just hard to write. I find it a lot easier to cover them. But when I write, it's like all, you know, really a folky kind of deal, which is what's going to be happening with this next single coming out. I got a couple of rock and roll songs that I've written, a lot of high energy stuff, but it's just a lot more natural for me to write folk music, which is really, some people might find strange.
No, absolutely. And everybody picks up certain passions at like different points in life. I know that I do, like, especially as an aspiring singer-songwriter myself, right? Like, however, in your case, like you had a different sort of pathway in terms of when you wanted to pick up your passion for music. So can you talk more about like when you first initially got the love for music?
Well, I'll tell you, my mama would take me to Graceland every year when I was little, and just going there and being immersed in that kind of world um, of what Elvis did and what his legacy meant to people and what it meant to the world and what it meant to those hundreds of thousands of people who still to this day go right on his wall, even though that it gets, cleaned every 2 years, you know, just for those people to go up there and write their names on his wall is, something that me and my mom have done many times. But it's amazing to see the legacy that he has left and the legacy that he still continues to push on to this day. And not just him. I mean, you want to talk about artists like Bob Dylan, like Jimi Hendrix, like James Brown, who, just to name a few, those are my biggest inspirations. But it's just it's life changing to them as an artist and to them as a person and to the audience, and I want to be able to have that kind of change in my life with my audience and with my career.
Right. And like obviously you're just talking about Graceland, right? I mean, I was watching this show on Circle Network, and Circle Network has a lot of cool like historic artifact type of shows, and then they
Yeah.
had this show called Southern Weekend, right? And then there
Mhm.
was this one part of the Southern Weekend where they took you to Graceland and they
Wow.
showed you inside the house of
Oh yeah.
Elvis Presley, and what kind of history was there. He had all sorts of different artifacts. He had a pool table there. He had basically an arcade in his house basically.
Mhm.
And then they take us to the jungle room, right?
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and showing us that nothing has been basically removed from there. It's been as how Elvis would have left it, right?
Yeah.
And so you just talked about your love for Elvis Presley and Jimi Hendrix and Bob Dylan, and all of those have something in common. Well, they can all play the guitar, and they can all be really experts in their fields and their respective artistry. And so, for you at 14 years old, you started playing the guitar. Talk to me about that.
It was just it was really kind of a crazy decision because before I had started wanting to play the guitar, I learned how to kind of play the piano, and because I wanted to be like Elton John. um, you know, I really I really find different people and artists that I really like, and I latch on to them and I learn from them for a short amount of time, and then I find another artist that I try to learn from, and it all just kind of turns into this big old mixing pot. But the first thing I did was try to learn. I learned how to dance. That was like the first thing that I really started exploring because of Michael Jackson. I watched the Smooth Criminal music video and I was just like, oh my God, I was blown away. It was like one of the first times I had felt, music. And I wanted to learn how to dance like he danced, and I wanted to learn how to do that kind of thing. And then um, I learned that to the best of my ability. Then I was like, I really would like to learn how to play an instrument. I want to voice this music that I have, burning inside of me. I want to be able to put that and give that to people. And so I try to learn how to play the piano, and the piano is such a big learning curve. It's a difficult instrument. But I ended up, my friend got a guitar for Christmas, And I was like, oh my goodness, man, imagine that. Imagine being able to dance while I'm being able to play my instrument. That's something I can't do with a piano, you know. And so I was like, oh my goodness. So my mom, she ended up buying me my first electric guitar. I have a picture of it up on my website, me and my first electric guitar. I was wearing an MTV shirt and like a blazer, holding this Epiphone SG that buzzed every time you plugged it in. But it was a start, you know what I mean? And that whole thing just blossomed into, different people to idolize, and starting to write my own music and to put my own ideas down on paper, and to start developing myself as an artist. And that's where the whole kind of story behind Act One, The Poet, came up, which is my first album. And that's just kind of a mixture of everything that I am. I got a funny song in there like Tiffany, which is just me messing around and, making a very beautiful song about a very unbeautiful lady. And, just to voice kind of that funny side, but then I got something like The Poet, which, shows my love for somebody like Bob Dylan. And I actually wrote that the night before I went to record the album. It was never supposed to be a part of the album. I wrote it the night before the album, and I ended up just centering the entire project around that song. And something that's really crazy, Crybaby, that went on it. I wasn't even going to keep that on the album, and that actually turned out to be everybody's favorite song on it. It's my most played song on Spotify and Apple Music, and I'm just like, that just boggles my mind that I wasn't even going to put it on it, and it just turned out to be the most popular one.
No, absolutely, and it's a really cool record. To be honest,
Thank you.
it's a really cool record because it really sounds like you kind of really took time to really reflect on, like, not only your American Idol experience, but life in general, where you kind
Well,
of
I,
had the.
I actually wrote that when I was 15. I wrote
Wow.
I wrote that when I was 15, and I got it recorded when I was 16, and months and months later I finally got it out online because I had figured out how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, so speaking of your album, like you were just touching on the points of different songs that were all on the album. Um, it seems like, I'm going to repeat this again, that I think that you've really had the time to really think thoroughly about what you want this album to sound like. and
Oh
and there's someone that's named Maggie Rogers who had one of the biggest hits of her generation, which is Alaska, right? And you were just talking about like folk music, right? And so she was talking about why she wrote that record. And she said that I'm more of an outside person. I like to go to the nature and be in
that's
Alaska, right? Just going to different, like, nowhere that people would expect people to go. So the
yeah,
forest, the wooded areas where like you can really just zone out and zen into different parts of
yeah.
your artistry, right? And it
Hmm.
seems like this record seems like a similar type of motivation in terms of where you've had the time to really think, but also really hone in on the special moments of what you're trying to aspire to become.
Definitely,
Like,
definitely.
would that be an accurate description of what the record would sound like?
I think definitely, of course. I kind of wrote it as a symbolic, um, just kind of a symbolic staple of how I began. And everybody starts with an acoustic guitar. I mean, when they start songwriting, when they first start trying, it's just them and an acoustic guitar. So that's what I kind of wanted to do. And on Running, the last track on the album, I actually played the piano for that. I actually wrote that song on the piano, and then I was like, oh, I might put some acoustic flourishes in there. But yeah, and that a lot of it's just stories that I actually have a book that I'm writing, and I mean, I just love to write stories. I love to put them in songs because because it's I don't have the I try to have the patience to write novels, but sometimes it doesn't work out, and the time also.
Right. And speaking of storytelling, let's jump into your journey on American Idol. Um, because my oh my, was that an amazing, amazing experience for you, but not only for you, but for the viewers to go on the journey with you, and see just the specialty of what your music has become and who you are trying to become. Because when I first saw you, on American Idol, and I was like, "Who is this kid? You know, who is this kid? This guy already walks in. You don't even have to say anything. The look says it all. You walk in with this really cool like outfit that's like really I don't know how to describe it. It's like sort of like you haven't seen this in a long time, where someone just walks into a room and says, "This is Tristen Gressett." Someone trying to aspire to become the next Bob Dylan. Yet no one can become the next Bob Dylan. No one can become the next Stevie Wonder. Um, but you're trying to become who you want to be,
Exactly.
right? And when you performed Piano Man, and I was really blown away by it because I was like, we haven't heard this type of artist before. It's been a while since someone of your stature comes in and all of a sudden commands the room. And then you're like, this guy is rare. It's a rare gem to find in a lot of the cases. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, because I found that you actually can be something legendary and I want to be a part of it.
Well,
And that's a huge thing. And I hope you really take that and use that as motivation, because I think that you've got something so special that not a lot of people are witnessing right now. But you, my friend, are gonna be something iconic. And I mean, let's talk about, like, have you had the chance to really settle down and process your time in American Idol?
I mean, not really. It's been a whirlstorm. It's been crazy, but I'm actually in the works of making a single right now, which I actually wrote while I was on the show. Um, and it's really a love letter to the show. You know, I feel like a lot of people after they get off, they either, kind of I don't feel like they really acknowledge the fact that they were on the show. They kind of try to brush it off, but I mean, musically, they never really mention it. So I really wanted to take a different route and write a letter. It's really, it's not, it's symbolically like a letter to the show and to to everybody who liked me on the show and to everybody who didn't like me on the show. It's kind of it's a wrap up of my experience in music so far, and what I want to do with my career. It's it's a folky song, but I'm actually gonna go finish up recording it on Thursday. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of excitement in terms of now what is next to come. But before we jump into that, let's talk about the audition process. Not even your first audition, but the audition and the auditions to get into meeting the judges, because there is quite a process you have to go through in order to get to that stage. So walk us through the process of like how you even got to that stage.
Well, man, it's actually a really crazy process because you got to go through a whole bunch of Zoom interviews like over the phone, and you interview with a bunch of different producers, bunch of different executive producers, and stuff like that. And it's a journey.
Uh, I mean, I think that a lot of the contestants who were on shows like yours, um, that are like can really understand the weight of the pressure, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's a lot. But I think that for you guys, the contestants, I would assume that, what helps you get through that is being able to have the friendships that you made on the show.
Oh yeah.
um and a lot of the special people there that were on this season,
Mm.
Allegra Miles. There's been a lot of like just really, really bright, talented people there.
Oh yeah.
um so how do you try to keep yourself a little sane, but also keep yourself apart from the competition and just try to beat yourself?
Well, I don't know about saying. I think I lost that a long time ago, but no, I'm just kidding. But it is just like what you said, making these amazing friendships. And I mean, some of the people that I really found myself gravitating with was Nicolina. I mean, she is just an amazing person, just an amazing person. Her and Cadence Baker, she's from Alabama. And just some of those people that I was able to be like, these are my homies. These are my people that are there for me even after the show. So I'm actually getting to go do a show with Cadence the 24th down in Muscle Shoals, which is going to be awesome. And just the people that I've kept in touch with, because so many people kind of get wrapped up in the whole thing and kind of, I don't know, but a lot of the people are so genuine. Most everybody's just so genuine, man. It's so amazing.
Yeah, and speaking of, the emotion of being so genuine, um, you know, I remember Lionel Richie on in your first audition, when you finished performing for them, um, and Lionel Richie said that you had real substance,
Oh,
and you got it squeezing out the sides, and you can keep an audience for the whole night. What does that mean to you to know, like a fellow Alabama man and a legend like Lionel says that to you? What does that mean to you?
it meant the world, man. It's just shocking to hear because I've been, I don't want to say I've been living under a rock my whole life, but I've been, and this is smaller. It's a smaller town here, and the surrounding towns that I've kind of played in, aside from Birmingham, have been, a little bit smaller. So I've been the only kind of guy that does what I do around here. But I've always expected that the world was full of people exactly like me, and that I really had to make myself different to stand out, and that what I was doing wasn't uh, like unique or authentic, you know. But hearing that from him and knowing that through this competition that the judges haven't seen somebody like me, it really meant a lot, and it really was something I needed to hear.
Yeah, and most definitely. And so what would you say is the best advice and helpful advice you received from either of the judges?
I gotta say that the best advice I received was from Katy Perry, and she just said to keep following my dreams and keep swinging because eventually you'll hit. She said if she would have blown up and got famous when she was 17, her career would be. She doesn't know if she would have gotten famous. She said it takes a lot of time and a lot of growth, and I know I got a lot more growing to do as an artist, as a person. Um, I'm about to turn 18. So, and I'm moving to Los Angeles in August. So, that's gonna be where I learn. That's gonna be where I find my career at. I think this next part of my life is the chapter where I put in the work, I make the music, um, and where I, do my best to become the next big thing. But it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be a fairy tale. If it's about how much you're willing to risk and how much you're willing to sacrifice to make your dreams come true. And I feel like moving to LA, taking this big step, you know, I, I pray that I find success in this. So
Yeah, and you're just talking about growth, right? And you finished in the top 11 of American Idol, and then you just talked about moving to LA because you want to make that first step in terms of making that growth.
yeah,
But I don't know if people know this, but you finished in the 11th place, roughly out of 122,000 people who auditioned in that same season. So, as we talk about increasing your learning and increasing your knowledge on music, and making the sacrifice and moving to a different part um, of the country, um, and basically trying to solidify yourself in the music business now. Um, Talk to me about like how that sort of will motivate what you do in terms of your music catalog, but also your intuition in terms of musically.
yeah. I mean, um, it's about learning how the business works. I want to learn how to make my own music, to where I don't have to go to a studio and stuff like that, and learn how to produce myself, like Phineas, because he's so awesome when it comes to that. Um, but I want to be able to um, bring my ideas to life to the best of my ability, and to at least just make one person feel understood, or um something that they can relate to, because that's just really really important to me as an artist and as a person. So
Yeah, and so as we're going to wrap up on the American Idol talk, I'm going to ask you this because I feel this is important, and I think that it's just one of the things that I don't think I've asked anybody on my podcast, but I felt like it was important. Um, Do you personally feel fulfilled from the experience?
oh yeah, completely. I feel, you know I am so happy to get to where I got, because top 10 is a whole different world. It's a whole different ball game when it gets to there. But at the same time, I feel like I experienced just enough to where I was completely happy and completely content. I don't feel like I missed, anything. Like, I would have liked to go to Disney World, but you know, but I don't feel like I missed out on something, or that I was done wrong, or anything like that. I just completely feel um just happy from that experience. And I feel like I learned enough. I took away enough from that experience to be able to start getting um, my footing down, and I got enough representation in the show to be able to now really dig my heels in the ground and start working on my own career.
Yeah. And so I think that to wrap up this interview, um, let's just talk about now the future. Um, what can people expect from you, and just what is something exciting that you can tell the listeners in terms of what we can look forward to?
Well, I write new music every single day, so there will be no shortage of music coming from me. But I got a show coming up in Alex City. I'm opening up for Taylor Hicks on the 11th. I got some big stuff coming out of Muscle Shoals on the 24th. Me and Cadence Baker are going to be there. I'm going to be heading up to Canada at the end of this month, which is going to be awesome. And then I'm moving to LA in August, and making that move out there. Already got some awesome stuff lined up. Though actually, the whole reason I'm moving out there is film. So I'm not going to dive into that much more, but there's some big opportunities and some huge things in store, and I'm just ready to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And so thank you, Tristan, for taking time with me today. I had a great time chatting with you. And to the listeners who made it this far into the episode, thank you for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with former American Idol contestant, singer-songwriter Tristen Gressett. You can find him on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you want further information about him, you can visit TristenGressettMusic.com. Thanks again for listening. I've been your host, Jigme Keltseng. See you in the next episode.
Definitely. Thank y'all so much.